Attended many trainings, workshops, seminars on women issues locally, regionally, and internationally. Has a diploma in theology, associate degree in paralegal studies, a member of the National Reconciliation Board, and serve on the select committees for the New Domestic Violence Act 2015, training in anti-human trafficking basic skill, has a certificate in techniques in project development and proposal writing. An amazing sister, and she's the lioness when she roars. And mind you, I met her at a workshop, and right away we connected. And yes, when she steps into the jungle, the birds, you know when they... Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Sister Beverly Richards.
The National Council of Women this afternoon congratulates the Public Service Union, and we are happy to partner with the executive and other stakeholders on this bold step in sensitizing the Vincentian public in the recognition and removal of this scourge that has over the years been raising its ugly head and occupying space in our minds, in the minds of the people of our society. Our organization is working towards a St. Vincent that will create more safe space for women. We want to ensure that the structure is in place that allows reports of violence and abuse to have full carried through with justice as the result. We want to work with police organizations to help create a better understanding of what to look for when conducting investigations on site. How can we as a society create a space that lets employers and schools handle the mental aspects of victims? Many victims of abuse are sitting beside you in your classroom. That's for the children. They're there bagging our groceries at the grocery store. The woman is in plain sight. She's trying her endeavor best to function and appear in society. She's riding right next to you on the bus. She might be even sitting right next to you in this audience. Silence among women is common. Let us break the silence to forge effective change. Let us work towards a better society that creates an inclusive space for women and girls. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic for discussion before us this evening is sexual exploitation, harassment, violence against women, the uncomfortable conversation. And I would like to believe that's the reason why our hall is not filled here this afternoon. Sexual harassment can be defined as unwelcome advances, requests for sexual favors and other verbal or physical conduct of sexual nature. Some criteria that constitute sexual harassment can be conditions of employment which are either explicitly or implicitly implied. Decisions taken for employment or promotion based upon acceptance of the advances. Unreasonable interference of an individual's work performance by creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. And a hostile environment is one that is unwelcome. It is the use of power, physical abuse, verbal abuse as related to one's gender, physical attacks, threats of rape, and threats of sexual abuse, uncomfortable touching or caressing of the body without permission, any act that makes the receiver feels degraded. I want to look at each aspect in this with intervention and prevention. So while I read, you'll see how we can intervene in these activities and how we can prevent them. Sexual harassment is a prohibited conduct and should be clear on any company's policy. The assurance to employees for protection when they report and against retaliation from the attacker. Confidentiality must be guaranteed. Prompt and impartial investigation into complaints. Other ways to confront your harasser. Do it with a witness. Express clearly and loudly how you feel. Be assertive. Identify your rights to be respected. Here are some examples. Someone come and they're brushing next to you. Say, thank you for your help, but I don't like your hand rubbing against my arms. Please remove it. Stop it. Another incident, when you share your sexual fantasies with me, it makes me very uncomfortable. Please stop. Don't do that. While I was preparing this speech, someone sent me a clipping from Sacramento. It's a press release, and I would like to read it. When Assembly lawmakers met in November to discuss ways of improving their policies for preventing and responding to sexual harassment, Democratic Assemblyman Ken Cooley had an idea. He said to ban cell phones from the 2-hour harassment training lawmakers must attend. It seemed a trivial suggestion for addressing such a serious problem, but interviews and documents obtained by the Associated Press reveals there's truth in what his comments hinted at. Many lawmakers aren't deeply engaged with the trainings aimed at preventing the type of inappropriate behavior that forced 2 lawmakers to resign in the last month. Some people do take it seriously, and some people are on their phones, some people are cracking up with jokes, but I said Assemblywoman Christina Garcia, the Bells Gardens, and chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus. I would say the large majority of people are not as attentive. The California legislature has been soul-searching on how it handles sexual harassment since nearly 150 women signed a letter in mid-October saying such behavior is pervasive at the Capitol, but women don't report it because they fear retaliation. 2 Democratic Assemblymen from Los Angeles, Raul Bocanegra and Matt Debeneth, chose to resign after allegations from multiple women went public, both denying wrongdoing. Tony Mendoza of Artesia, meanwhile, has refused calls to step down aside while the Senate investigates claims he acted inappropriately toward 3 of his female subordinates. California lawmakers requires lawmakers and legislative staff to attend sexual harassment training every 2 years, just as private sector employees in supervisory roles do. For lawmakers, the training is run by outside lawyers with expertise in employment law. Across the nation, policies on sexual harassment and training requires vary. The California training is well-intended, lawmakers said, but poor design to fit the legislature's needs. While it offers hypothetical but realistic scenarios, such as boss asking out a subordinate, it doesn't drill down enough to the unique power dynamics in the Capitol among lawmakers, lobbyists, and staff members that women say make it difficult for them to avoid reporting harassment. We know that about 77% of our office romances can increase companies' exposure to sexual harassment lawsuits. Men and women do date on the job. Some of them will get married. Women on the job find it very difficult to report. One woman said, if I ignore, it will go away. The reason why she said that is why women don't complain about sexual harassment, because they can't take the risk. I need my job. Possible retaliation. It's easier to quit and find another job major. I'd rather avoid the conflict. Everyone will assume that I'm responsible. They will say I should get it myself. I should not get myself into these situations. I'm afraid I will be labeled a troublemaker or that I'm bringing malicious charge. Everyone at work will know there's no confidentiality. So we see where the women are afraid to speak out. We are not to remain silent. Sexual exploitation is the sexual abuse of children and youth through the exchange of sex or sexual acts for drugs, food, shelter, protection, other basics of life, and or money, and may I add, cell phones. Sexual exploitation includes involving children and youth in creating pornography and sexually explicit websites. While the Criminal Code of St. Vincent and the Grenadines defines sexually exploited youths as under 18 years of age, therefore, youth who are under 18 years old are able to access services through the Ministry of National Mobilization. Many sexually exploited youths face realities of drug use, homelessness, past trauma, and other factors which have led them into the survivor's sex trade. I hope we do not have that here in St. Vincent. Other youth may have no such history and may have been lured, tricked, or forced into being sexually exploited. Regardless of their personal history and life experience, it is important to respect the identities of youth while also recognizing that any sex act between youth and adults is abuse. Anybody hear that time? I just touched on domestic violence. Domestic violence is a health issue for the whole society. It prevents economic, sustainable, and equitable development and growth in the country. We, as a nation, it requires joint effort of the whole society to solve it. Civil society, public authorities, religious leaders, and the others. I will just want the importance of developing different tools to strengthen this civil society. We must raise awareness through videos, research, and leaflets. We must advocate for legislations, national and local plans to protect victims in many ways. We must contribute to prevention, talk about domestic violence on the radio, on the television, in the streets. We must sensitize people and help perpetrators also. They need help also. So I will stay here for now, and I will await your questions. Thank you.